of how we use social media. It's not just about the platforms themselves.
To the preservation of the national unity and democratic stability.
Water is life, water is an essential service, and then we must have to carry out the residents.
Local communities are not only vital to the growth of society, but they also form the bedrock of humanitarian development.
Hello there, this is specially welcoming you to the reporter on Global Television. I'm Uyi Agmofwegwe, in for my colleague Anieche Patrick. The week has slowly ground to an end, but the big stories never stop coming. It is why we are delighted to welcome you to this installment of the reporter on Global Television. I'm here filling in for my colleague. Let's get started now, shall we? As Nigeria joins the rest of the world to mark International Women's Day, President Bola Tinubu has reaffirmed his administration's commitment to policies aimed at ensuring a seamless and productive work environment for Nigerian workers. The president, who was represented by Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Senator George Akume, made this known at International Workers' Day in Abuja. Correspondent Samuel Odi was there for Global TV.
In a message to commemorate May Day, President Tinubu, who was represented by the Secretary General of the Federation, George Akume, says his government remains focused on reforms that will enhance efficiency, protect workers' rights, and improve overall productivity across sectors. He notes that ongoing policy adjustments are designed to remove bottlenecks affecting workflow and create a more suitable and supportive labor environment.
My administration has pivoted higher attention as a national commitment. Bearing in mind that this business affects productivity, better livelihoods, and enhancing confidence of workers and workers alike.
However, the president of Nigerian Labour Congress, Joe Ajore, paints a different picture, highlighting the harsh economic realities confronting workers. Ajore says rising inflation, stagnant wages, and increasing cost of living are significantly affecting workers' morale and efficiency, stressing that many Nigerians are struggling to maintain productivity under current conditions.
Macroeconomic stability cannot be reduced to inflation rates, exchange rates, or capital inflows alone. True stability is reflected in secure jobs, rising wages, thriving local industries, and government capable of providing essential services.
Also weighing in, President of the Trade Union Congress of Nigeria, Festus Osifo, draws attention to the high cost of electricity, describing it as a major burden on both workers and businesses. Osifo warns that accelerating energy tariffs are not only reducing disposable income but also disrupting workflow, particularly for small and medium-scale enterprises.
What was promised as reform has become a burden, as consumers are forced to pay higher tariffs for unreliable supply. The introduction of bank classifications has only worsened equality, with citizens paying more without commensurate services. It is unacceptable that in just the past 3 years, over 10 trillion naira of public funds has been transferred into a sector whose assets were sold for about 4 billion naira.
As Workers' Day celebration continues nationwide, the call for balanced economic reforms are improved. Welfare remains central, with labor leaders urging government to match policies and promises with tangible beliefs for Nigerian workers. Samuel Odi, Global TV News.
Good enough. We have Samuel Odi with us live in the studio tonight. Samuel, it's a pleasure to have you here.
It's always a pleasure to be here.
Great. So it's a big day, no doubt about it, and Abuja is the center of it all, as it were. Talk to us about what some of the highlights of today's events have been.
It all started with lots and lots of excitement, people dancing, different, agencies, organizations, right, government organizations, where they all started celebrating, eating and having fun until, the speech from the representative of the president and other top government officials who went present, sending representatives to come encourage workers and still stand by them in solidarity ahead of the good work that they've been doing in terms of nation building.
Great. I saw Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Senator George Akume, himself having been a two-term governor at the point in Benue State. So he obviously understands what it means to interface with workers at this level on May 1st, Workers' Day. What were some of the points that stuck out for you when he spoke?
Basically, Senator George Akume was not there in his capacity as the Secretary General.
He was representing the president.
Was representing the president, right. And I would say the president said that his policies, and he is creating a very good workforce and policies that would help, Nigerian workers have a more comfortable environment to work in to help build the nation. And also, he asked Nigerians and the Nigerian workers to be a little more patient, which is one of the major statements that is never lacking when Mr. President is speaking, based on the fact that he says his policies are working, but it's just going to take a little more time. It's going to take a little more while before it's going to trickle down to the entire nation.
Great. I mean, before we let you off, I need to also ask you this. How would you describe the pulse of the workers? I mean, quite a number of them there apparently today. What did you hear for the most part, whether it was from those you spoke to directly or the things you heard on the sidelines? What was the impression of the workers overall?
Well, overall, workers were excited that some persons were like, yes, they're thankful to God, one, for making it possible for them to see another Workers' Day, and they're thankful for jobs that they have. They're thankful for the fact that there's a level of peace within the country, and they're also asking for more peace. And also they highlighted some key concerns, which is centered around welfareism and also the high cost of transportation, which is a major concern, which they have said that some individuals struggle to come to work. But all in all, they call on presidents to improve the welfareism of the workers, and as well as try to curb and tackle the concerns of insecurity in some major parts of Nigeria.
Amazing. Well, we count down to another 365 days, by which time we will be able to cycle back and do an assessment of what all of this means. In the meantime, we'll say a big thank you to you, Sam, for coming on the program.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, still in the spirits of Workers' Day, Benue State government has assured civil servants of rewards for diligence, excellence, and good conduct in service. Governor Hyacinth Alia gave the assurance during the 2026 Workers' Day celebration held at the Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida Square in Makurdi, the state's capital. Our correspondent who is on the ground, Felicity in Derry, now reports.
Workers across Benue State converged on the Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida Square in Makurdi to commemorate this year's Workers' Day celebration. The event provided an opportunity for organized labor to assess the state of the civil service, highlighting achievements as well as challenges confronting workers in the state. Governor Hyacinth Alia, represented by the Deputy Governor Sam Odi, appreciated the commitment, sacrifices, and resilience of the state's workforce, stressing that no society can thrive without a productive and motivated labor force. He assured workers of the administration's continued commitment to prioritizing their welfare through incentives and reforms aimed at improving service delivery and helping workers adapt to emerging digital trends in the civil service.
We are very much aware that we are not where we want to be yet. Our aspirations are tall. Our vision is quite clear. Our determination is in stimulating economic expansion, and that diversification is unwavering. I have heard all your requests and yearnings, and I assure you today, the first day of May 2026, that all of them will be duly considered based on merit.
Chairman of Organized Labor in Benue State and Chairman of the Nigerian Labour Congress, Comrade Tengwa Igbe, commended the state government for the regular payment of salaries and the implementation of workers' welfare packages. He, however, appealed for an upward review of pensioners' wages in line with the prevailing economic realities and called on government to intensify efforts in securing lives and property across the state.
You have taken the issue of workers as a top priority. That is why you have gotten the title of Mr. 25th. I'm appealing to you as a reliable governor of Benue State that pensioners' pension should be added, no matter little thing that government has added up to their own salary. I also want to inform you that up to now, the local government and the teachers are still having some little challenges in the payment of their own salary.
Workers at the event also commended what they describe as the remarkable achievements of the present administrations across critical sectors of the state's economy. In Makurdi, Felicity Ndere reporting for Global Television News.
We understand we're now being joined by Felicity Ndere, who is live on the ground for us in Makurdi, the state's capital of Benue. It's a pleasure to have you on the program. Felicity, I mean, let's go get right to it. Help us understand exactly what the Benue State's government's messaging to the workers in that state is at this point in time.
Hello, happy Workers' Day.
I understand the network from the reporters and it's a bit of a drag right now, but we saw the deputy governor of the state, who apparently was representing the state governor, Reverend Father Asenth Alia, to obviously pass the message to the workers in the states on behalf of the state government. Of course, as always, for many of the states, the idea is to reassure workers of government's interest in their welfare. That, of course, again highlights the investments being made, initiatives and programs being rolled out to ensure that workers' welfare is treated as a matter of priority number one. But then again, the question is, how much is enough for workers? And we've seen, for example, at the federal level, what government has done the last few days for workers, which will come into effect in the next couple of months. But even at that, will inflation and other economic constraints not blow out all this money before it even gets to their hand? Because as of today, one of the concerns that have been highlighted is how that economic challenges have now blurred, as it were, or even drowned the excitement that ordinarily should come with Workers' Day, such as we have today. Of course, I mean, regardless of all of this, we're seeing so much of as it were, celebration, sort of carnival-like engagements across the country. But the opposition party, one of them in the country, talking about the African Democratic Congress, is also saying that workers are in a far worse place today than they have ever been in contemporary times in the country. But you're also asking what metrics are they using to reach that conclusion. Hopefully, we'll reconnect with Felicity Ndere once we're able to establish a link with her. But let's cross over now, in the meantime, to Kano State, where workers across Nigeria have joined millions around the world to celebrate this year's International Workers' Day. In Kano, Governor Abba Kabir Yusuf attended the May Day parade, where he outlined key measures aimed at improving workers' welfare in the state. A correspondent in Kano, Idris Jibrain, monitored the commemoration.
The atmosphere at the Sani Abacha Stadium was vibrant as workers from both public and private sectors gathered in large numbers to mark the annual celebration. Dressed in colorful uniforms representing their various unions, the workers marched in solidarity, showcasing their contributions to the growth and development of Kano State. Different labor unions displayed banners with inscriptions calling for improved salary, better working conditions and prompt payment of entitlement. Addressing the gathering, the Kano State Chairman of the Nigeria Labour Congress, Kabiru Inuwa, emphasized the need for government to prioritize workers' welfare, especially amid current economic challenges.
Payment that matters, but rather the areas. Right, Honorable Speaker, sir, we sincerely appreciate you. We sincerely appreciate you, and it shall continue to be in our mind.
In his remark, Governor Abba Kabir Yusuf acknowledged the vital role of workers in nation building and reassured them of his administration's commitment to addressing their concerns. As workers celebrate this year's May Day, expectations remain high that government promises will translate into tangible improvement in their daily lives. From Kano, Idris Jibrin, Global Television News.
Well, I would like to say a big thank you to Idris Jibrin, who ordinarily should be with us on the program right now, but apparently technical challenges from his end have made that impossible at the moment. But it appears to be one thing in common across the states, across the cities in Nigeria, workers converging on stadia and, of course, parks to commemorate this day. Not all is dark as it stands right now. Workers across the country are finding a reason to celebrate, to jubilate, and of course reassure themselves, this time not the government doing it for them, that there's light at the end of the tunnel. One of the things highlighted usually or traditionally on a day such as this is the role that workers play in our national development, how that if they were to step aside, there will be so much of vacuum, bigger than we can imagine. But then we have a couple of more stories coming your way shortly. In the meantime, we understand that First Lady Oluremi Tinubu has also again reassured Nigerian workers that the administration of President Bola Tinubu, on the basis of the Renewed Hope agenda, is not leaving any Nigerian worker behind. We understand that governments at all levels, states, federal, especially within the All Progressives Congress's framework of Renewed Hope agenda, is poised to ensure that it doesn't leave Nigerian workers where it met them on the 29th of May 2023. But then we keep our fingers crossed, looking forward to the best of outcomes, as it has to do with not just the welfare of workers in Naira and Kobo, but how to drive efficiency on the part of these workers, because the national development of Nigeria is directly tied to the value that they bring across sectors. Now time to go to Imo State, where Governor Hope Uzodimma now says his administration will continue to prioritize the welfare of workers and pensioners in the state. The governor gave the assurance during this year's Workers' Day celebration held at Ondoboisi Kano Square in Owerri, the state's capital, where workers turned out in large numbers to mark their global event. Our correspondent, Samarachi Ibe, has the rest of the story.
Represented by his deputy, Chinyere Komaru, Governor Hope Uzodimma commended workers for their resilience and dedication, noting that their contributions remain critical to governance and sustainable development in the state. He assured workers that his administration will sustain the prompt payment of salaries while also introducing additional welfare measures aimed at improving their standard of living.
From the very first day I assumed office, we have remained intentional about your welfare, addressing concerns diligently and ensuring that you are never taken for granted. I commend your dedication and assure you of our continued support. I encourage you to remain steadfast and even redouble your efforts in service to our states collectively and for our collective progress.
The state government says ongoing reforms in salary payments, pensions, and workers' welfare demonstrates its commitment to improving well-being of the workforce, while urging workers to continue supporting its development agenda for sustained progress. The Imo State chairman of the Nigerian Labour Congress, Comrade Uche Nwigwe, commended the governor for the regular payment of salaries to workers. He, however, noted that many workers are still grappling with economic hardship and called for more interventions to cushion the effects of the current economic realities.
Organized labor in Imo State also appreciates the various efforts your administration has made towards workers' welfare, including the provision of official vehicles to the newly appointed permanent secretaries in the state service, the renovation and rehabilitation of the State Secretariat and the House of Assembly complex, the restoration of public power supply in the government offices through the Orashi power plant, and most importantly, the prompt payment of salaries and pensioners.
With workers demanding stronger support and government reaffirming its commitment to improve welfare, sustained collaboration remains key to building a more productive workforce and a stronger Imo State. From Owerri, Amarachi Ibe, reporting for Global TV News.
We have joining us at this point to help us find some meaningful context in this story, Amarachi Ibe, who happens to be a correspondent in Imo State. Amarachi, so great to have you on the program tonight. I'd like to ask you straight away, what exactly are the highlights of the message coming from Imo State government on this special Workers' Day?
Good evening, Uyi. Looking at what have just happened today, the basic highlights of today is the governor thanking. The basic highlights of today is the governor thanking workers for their diligence and dedication to work. He described them as the workforce of the state. Without them, there's nothing the state could achieve because they are putting more work, so the state is moving forward. And again, he encouraged them to be more dedicated because a dedicated worker produces more work than workers that are not dedicated. He asked them to always be dedicated and give their best to the state. And again, another highlight is the governor promised to always put the workers' welfare in front above every other thing. You can remember the governor also giving, that is really last year, he's the first governor that paid 104,000 naira to workers against the 97,000 naira of the federal government. So yes, that is the highlight of what has just happened today. And as we see, it was the deputy governor that represented him in that occasion, and it was all lively for the workers as they show. You can see the cultural dance, the march past, and every other thing that they have to do. So it was a day worth celebrating for the workers.
You off at this point in time. I mean, you have done an amazing work helping us understand exactly what's the thrusts of the governor's message to the workers in Imo State today has been. We appreciate your very valuable insights on the reporter. All right, time to talk some politics now, everyone. A factional leader of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Tanimu Turaki, has described the current Supreme Court's, the recent Supreme Court judgment nullifying the party's Ibadan Convention as a sad day for democracy in Nigeria. Our political correspondent, Tubongo Soro, who was right in the Supreme Court tracking the proceedings, tells us more.
Turaki, who led the faction affected by the ruling, expressed disappointment over the decision, insisting that the convention held in Ibadan, Oyo State, was legitimate and reflected the will of party members. The Supreme Court had earlier invalidated the convention conducted in November 2025, dealing a major blow to Turaki's camp and reshaping the leadership structure within the party.
Appeal of the parties, an issue that has not been raised in the argument and briefs filed by the parties before the court, and they make that issue the basis of his judgment without giving the parties an opportunity to address it on that issue is something that cannot be explained.
Turaki argued that the judgment could undermine internal party democracy and set a dangerous precedent for political interference in party affairs. He, however, called on his supporters to remain calm and law-abiding, assuring them that consultations were ongoing on the next line of action.
Now, the fact that the judgments were splitted 3 against 2 is nothing but a tyranny of the majority. We have been vindicated in our position, which we have consistently maintained, that Nigerian courts have no business in meddling into matters that are purely political. We have also been vindicated in our assertion.
The development adds to the growing list of legal battles within the PDP, raising concerns about unity and stability in one of Nigeria's major opposition parties. Ubong Usoro for Global TV News.
Incidentally, contrary to the position of Tanimu Turaki, Wike, who happens to be the leader of the PDP, national leader, that is, now says that these verdicts from the Supreme Court has put paid to all of the challenges within the party. In the meantime, the Supreme Court has also struck out 6 suits filed against former President of the Senate, David Mark, in the ongoing leadership crisis within the African Democratic Congress, ADC. Again, here is Ubong Usoro's report.
In a lead judgment delivered by Justice Mohammed Garba, the Apex Court set aside a controversial status quo ante bellum order, ruling that such preservative directives cannot subsist once a case has been fully concluded. The court explained that while lower courts have the power to issue orders to preserve the subject matter of litigation, such powers only apply when proceedings are still ongoing. According to the court, once a matter has been fully conclusive and finally concluded, there is nothing left to preserve. Addressing the press, David Mark's lawyer said the ruling is in favor of David Mark as the chairman of the party.
The Supreme Court allowed the appeal. The objection to the competence of the appeal was dismissed. The appeal was valid, but they agreed that we ought not to have come to the Court of Appeal for the question to come and show cause.
Reacting to the judgment, the National Publicity Secretary of the ADC, Bolaji Abdullahi, said the party would now focus on addressing national issues affecting Nigerians.
We have remained confident in the judiciary. We have repeatedly maintained that we are confident in the judiciary, and we are very proud as Nigerian citizens today that the Supreme Court has not let the judiciary down, has not let Nigeria down.
However, counsel to the opposing faction, Nafiu Gombe Bala, represented by Emukporo Robert, insisted that the ruling does not amount to the recognition of David Mark's leadership. He maintained that the judgment simply reinforces that internal party disputes must be resolved at the High Court.
The appeal that gave rise to today's judgment was predicated on 7 grounds of appeal. 6 of those grounds failed completely. The Supreme Court dismissed them. Now, the only ground that succeeded is the ground that dealt with the issue of the consequential order to maintain status quo ante bellum. And the view of the Supreme Court...
Incidentally, that's all on this installment of The Reporter. Please be sure to subscribe and engage with Global TV across social media platforms using Global TV NG as well as other handles now showing on your screen. My team and I are grateful for watching. This is Uyi Agmofwebe saying, make the most of the weekend.
Be mindful of how we use social media. It's not just about the platforms themselves.
To the preservation of the national unity and democratic stability.
Water is life, water is an essential service, and then we must have to carry out the residents.
Local communities are not only vital to the growth of society, but they also form the bedrock of humanitarian development.